Doctors, if you're done, may we?
I guess.
All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to our board meeting tonight. It's Tuesday, November 18th. This is our regular board meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody that's here in person and the millions of people that are watching online right now. We're going to start our meeting with a call to order. That's what I just did. I just called this meeting to order. We're going to have a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance led by Jill Humphreys, if everyone would please rise. Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. And now we'll ask Ms. Wilson if she would please do roll call.
Mr. Chad Thompson.
Here.
Ms. Shana Murray.
Here.
Dr. Blake Robeson.
Here.
Ms. Jill Humphreys. Here. Mr. Jesse Brainerd.
Here.
Mr. President, all board members are present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Our agenda item number 2, approval of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda as written?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brainerd. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as outlined, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Thank you very much. Moving right into our superintendent's report. Dr. McCord.
Thank you, Mr. President, governing board members. There are no recognitions tonight, but because we're waiting for some fall events to wrap up, we'll congratulate everybody on all their accomplishments at the December 9th board meeting. But with that in mind, we still have a couple of teams playing. We have 2 schools in the running for the state championship in flag football. Tomorrow evening, the 5A number 1 ranked Campo Verde Coyotes take on ACP from Chandler at 6 p.m. at Campo. And again, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., the 6A number 1 ranked team, Highland High, will take on number 4 ranked Red Mountain at Highland High. So good luck to both of our teams. As a reminder, this Saturday is the annual Gilbert Days Parade. Once again, all of our schools will be represented in this parade, and we are looking forward to it. Our float is being constructed by the students from Desert Ridge High School, and this year's theme is Out of This World. So Ms. Taylor saw a little sneak peek of it, says it looks wonderful, so we can't wait to see that. The parade starts at Juniper Street and Gilbert Road, and it begins at 8:30 and ends right here at the district office, and we look forward to seeing you all there. And another great accomplishment happened yesterday. We had Mr. Ryan defend his dissertation and is now Dr. Ryan. So please give him a hand. Congratulations. We're very happy for you and proud of you. Well done. And last but not least, next week is Thanksgiving, and always an excellent time to reflect on the family and friends who make our lives complete. We're blessed to live, work, and learn in a community like Gilbert and East Mesa. We have the very best students, teachers, support staff, administrators, and families any district has to offer. So please enjoy spending time with your family and your friends this Thanksgiving, and please be safe. Mr. Thompson, that concludes my report for this evening. Oh, wait. Kidding. Sorry. Psych. I'd like to recognize a few people in the audience real quick. So we have 2 students from our Student Senate, Superintendent Student Senate, Mary McGuire and Carter Carmichael. Stand up. 11th, 12th grade. They're from GCA. And we have Cindy Wagner from MHS from our Aspire program. There you go. I'd like to tell you they volunteered to be here, but it's a little bit of a requirement, but we appreciate you showing up. Thank you guys for being here. And that concludes my report for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCord. We're going to move on to our request to speak to the governing board. We'll have the admonition read by Dr. Robeson.
Request to speak to the governing board pursuant to ARS 38-431.02.H. The governing board may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, to allow individuals to address the public body on any issue within the jurisdiction of the public body. After an opening call to the public, individual board members may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the governing board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the governing board shall not discuss or take legal action on the issues raised during an open call to the public if the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. During an open call, the governing board requests that speakers refrain from voicing complaints against school personnel or anyone connected to the district, as it may impact due process rights. Please contact the Office of Talent Management if you have specific concerns about any individual employee.
Thank you, Dr. Robeson. We have one request to speak to the governing board tonight, Miss Susie Jackson. If you'll come up to the podium, do you want me to move that, turn that towards you, or you got it? Okay, all right. While you're getting set, I do just want to make mention that we had a number of individuals submit their requests, their online comments, and I wanted to thank them for doing that. That's important for us to hear, and we appreciate them taking the time to do that. Ms. Jackson, you'll have a timer on the screen. As soon as your mic starts working, we'll...
Hello. Oh, yes. Okay.
Hey, don't yell at us.
Get it. Okay. Thank you. Well, I have had conversations with most of you regarding the district honoring my son's DNR. I would still love to see the district have an open discussion or forum about this topic rather than people making decisions based on personal philosophies. But those are the choices you make, the ones who deny a child the opportunity to attend school. I am here tonight to discuss a few things, and it all boils down to character. I have been told numerous times that the district has never honored a DNR. This is a proven lie. I received my FOIA request and the emails regarding the parents' wishes from last year, a request for a meeting, and a follow-up about the meeting, which included director-level staff and administrators. The email highlights what to do if he stops breathing and with his DNR procedures, as well as the DNR directives attached to the email for staff to reference. Can I ask publicly why a DNR was honored for a different student but is refused for my son? The inconsistencies are a challenge. We requested one-to-one nursing so he could return to school. This meeting was attended by your attorney for the district. I have attended over 100 IEP meetings with GPS, and never has an attorney been present. She was seated directly across from me, which felt like it was a failed intimidation tactic. This was a meeting requesting nursing. There was no need for legal counsel, yet there they were. Nursing was denied. Of course, I know they met prior to our IEP meeting, a fact that they denied. Again, a lie. My daughter received one-to-one nursing last year. The topic was raised prior to anyone meeting or seeing her. Her nursing was approved without anyone meeting or seeing her. No meeting, no attorneys, just approval of her services so she could attend school safely. Rigo's nursing decision was denied by a room full of people who have zero nursing or medical experience. Despite the discussion of his daily medical needs with several that were deemed nursing duties only, my daughter had zero nursing duties while at school. Zero. Yet she was approved. That's weird. A little bit weird. 2 instances where last year the exact same services were given to other students but denied for my son. People with disabilities are treated inconsistently within the district, and I am asking and begging for change. Recently, I learned about 2 GPS directors who dressed as a disabled character from Saturday Night Live. District directors thought it was funny to dress up as a person with disabilities. Even worse, they wore it to work. And even more disgusting, not one person sent them home. Silence is compliance. I am asking that the district create mandatory disability awareness and sensitivity training for all staff. I ask that you create a position within the district that includes a person to coordinate social and emotional activities and sports for our students with disabilities. If we have athletic directors for gen ed, we better have them for special ed. Again, I am asking for you to advocate for our children who don't have a voice, recognize that their needs may be different from your experience or comfort zone, but they deserve dignity, compassion, and respect. I am asking that you demand better. Character counts. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. All right, moving on to agenda item 5.01, monthly financial report for month ended October 31st, 2025. Dr. McCord.
Thank you, Mr. President, governing board members. I'll turn this over to Ms. Betts for our monthly financial report.
Good evening, governing board members, Dr. McCord, President Thompson. This will be a short monthly presentation. Let's see. Be helpful if I get it to work. So as usual, the district operating funds will be shared, the federal funds, and a couple of notes about some enterprise funds. So district operating funds, as you can see, the maintenance and operations fund is highlighted, as well as unrestricted capital. Very minimal change occurred on M&O, but this is normal activity through the end of October. Note that in unrestricted capital outlay that the encumbrance has increased by just about $1 million, reflective of some work on some parking lots, as well as additional security fencing. Normal activity occurring through the fall rain, due to the fall rain. Again, a reminder that we've budgeted about $36 million to be spent in unrestricted capital. So not all of it, obviously, at almost $20 million has been encumbered to date. So we'll see that change throughout the school year. So looking at the next grid, the federal grants, just a note that indicates that we're aware that the ESEA Title II grant is negative at this point in time. This is normal. We adopt a budget always in our federal grants that reflect what we've been awarded thus far. So as we go through the year, we submit all the completion reports associated with our federal grants. At that point in time, the Department of Ed makes the decision about what our carryover amounts are. So we have received those approvals for our carryover amounts. So we're allowed to spend, even though we're showing a negative $23,000. But when we revise the budget in February, we of course will account for the carryover funds and will correct that negative. So you'll see that for a couple of months. And then finally, IDEA Part B, the biggest change there was the year-to-date expended encumbered. It increased by about $1 million. Note that due to not knowing the quantification of the tuition out payments we make for our highest need special education students, we have all of those purchase orders opened up out of maintenance and operations. But every month we have an accounting specialist within the special education department who submits journal entries to us to move expenditures based upon the availability of IDEA into the IDEA fund to make sure that we're spending down those federal grants as appropriate. And then finally, the enterprise funds, just wanted to share nutrition services. Note that we are projecting an available balance at the end of the school year of just over $6 million. We had about $7.6 million in fund balance at the end of 25. So we are anticipating drawing down fund balance by about $1.5 million. So that is why when you see the action item at the end of the meeting this evening, that Nutrition Services is asking for a 10 cent increase to all the lunch prices only, keeping the breakfast prices the same, but increasing the lunch prices by 10 cents. So that, and we can revisit some of the reasons behind that when we get to that action item at the end of the meeting. And with that, I have nothing else to share.
Does the board have any questions?
Does the projected balance include the 10%, or sorry, the 10 cent increase or not?
It does not, because the 10 cent increase would be reflective of next year. So we're still in the current year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Betts, for that report. Moving on to agenda item 5.02, Teaching and Learning Academic Spotlight. Dr. McCord.
Thank you, Mr. President. Governing board members, turn this over to Dr. Ryan. We'll be talking a little bit about IB in Patterson, but he'll have some guests come up and speak. Dr. Ryan.
Thank you, Dr. McCord, President Thompson, governing board members. You're about to hear from a couple of the most passionate, and I will say 3 that are in attendance, with Ms. Gray in the back row there. But Paula Dunnett and Principal Chip Pettit have just done an incredible job of building what I'd say is one of the top primary year programs within the IB world that you can find in the state. A few years ago, Dr. McCord and I had a chance to talk around 2020, 2021 about the future of International Baccalaureate within Gilbert Public Schools. And it only took a few minutes to sit down with Ms. Dunnett and have a conversation, and at the time, Mr. Blackburn, and hear the vision. And Mr. Pettit has absolutely taken it to a whole new level, and they're here to share with you this evening, and I'm proud to turn it over to them at this time.
It's on? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. And Governing Board Superintendency, it's an honor to be here tonight to represent, the two of us represent Patterson Elementary, and explain a little bit about what goes on over there on a daily basis through some slides. It's a little easier to see in person most days. We're going to do our best in this short time to explain what the PYP and Prime Years program looks like at Patterson Elementary. Like Dr. Ryan said, I'm Chip Pettit, and the principal, if I haven't met you yet. Second year at Patterson, but my 24th year in Gilbert. And then Mrs. Dunnett, Paula Dunnett, is our IB coordinator, so she will introduce herself a little bit when she gets to her part here too, so hopefully it's the right button. So just a little bit about our journey, like Dr. Ryan started there with. Patterson kind of had a history of being project-based learning, STEM, engineering design process actually, which is more district-wide now even. So they kind of met and talked about how to take this to the next level and maybe build a continuum in Gilbert, and that's where IB came about. The candidacy began in 2021. The candidacy process is in-depth and lengthy and a lot of hard work. Our teachers have to do the Gilbert trainings, just like all the other teachers in Gilbert, but also go above and beyond and have to do all the IB accreditation trainings. Many of them continue their training, go with us in the summer to different trainings to keep continuing their education currently. And then we have a different math program. So IB is not a curriculum, it's just a philosophy. So we use all the Gilbert Schools curriculum except for our math is illustrative math. The reason that they chose that one was because it was very student-centered, super in-depth questioning, it aligned better with the IB philosophy. The district's now kind of gone with another math program that kind of is close to that, but illustrative is pretty in-depth and rigorous for our kids. And then, of course, we have to always constantly look at the state standards and align them into the units, which Ms. Dunnett will go to in a little bit here. There are 6 units in every grade level, and so the teachers spent years learning all the state standards and getting those all into the correct unit they aligned with. So they know their standards probably more than any other teacher. So I always tell them they're the hardest working teachers, and they are the most knowledgeable about their standards in Gilbert. Authorization was last year, which I got to be the guy who got on third base and got to score the winning run there at the end when we got our authorization. What that was we submitted an action plan, which was a lot of hard work. Big write-up, and got that submitted. It got approved, and then we got a site visit. Our site visit was with a couple judges from around the country, Colorado and Florida. They were pretty impressed, and they told us without saying it that we looked good. And then a few weeks later, we got an email that said we were approved and authorized to be a IB school.
Mr. Pettit, extremely impressed.
Yeah.
I was listening to the conversation. Don't be bashful.
All right.
It was a very impressive.
Yes, it was one of the best they'd seen. There we go. It was all because of the hard work they did leading up to it. Our post-authorization is what we're in now. Mr. Bircher actually joined us there today we meet with Iris, who's our global rep, and she meets with us quarterly, and we kind of go through our program development plan now. So we are in that for the next 5 years, and then hopefully reauthorization in 2030. Wow, all right. The IB mission, I'm not going to read these to you, but the the big picture is that the Patterson mission, the IB mission, and the Gilbert Schools mission all kind of align because we want to create great human beings that are productive in society. It kind of goes along with everything that you see up there. We think it fits in nice. The IB Continuum, so we are the primary years program, and you'll see some funky spellings because it's worldwide, it's European. So we have some words in there that you may think look different than they are, and they're spelled the European way. So primary years program is what we are, that is a K through 6. We are one of 10 authorized schools in Arizona. We are the most southeastern, which is kind of nice. We can pull from people that are looking for IB programs down Queen Creek, Higley, those kind of areas can come check us out. It includes all the students that are enrolled in Patterson. That's what's kind of unique as we get to the rest of the programs here. But the PYP is wall to wall, so every student gets the same education. The GAMS program at Gilbert High School is in candidacy for the MYP, and then at Gilbert High School they have the diploma program and the career program, which are authorized. So whenever GAMS gets their accreditation, will be a K-12 continuum, which is only a handful now in the state that are left. So it's pretty exciting to be part of that. Some of the stuff we'll talk about later, but Gilbert High was just there last Friday with some of their students, working as mentors with some of our students on a World IB Day of Service Day. Paula and Megan, the IB coordinator at Gilbert High, are constantly working together, planning together, so we're a great continuum working all together. And then I'll turn over to Mrs. Dunn to give you a little bit of the meat of the program here.
Okay, good evening. Like Mr. Pettit said, I have been at Patterson. This is my 11th year, and I have served in various roles at Patterson, from a classroom teacher to the instructional coach, and to most recently, the IB coordinator full-time for the past 3 years. So it's exciting to be able to see it at every level, to know exactly where our teachers are and what they need. The primary years program is really a framework and a philosophy that's built around the best teaching and learning practices globally. It is formed from 6 key elements that are listed up there on the slide. We will go through each of these elements as we continue through the presentation. Okay. The learner profile attributes are valued by the IB World Schools. They consist of 10 attributes that are shown there up on the top right-hand side of the slide. They are found within each of the 4 programs of the continuum. They are core to the IB mission to create a more peaceful and knowledgeable world through education. They help students develop a holistic set of skills necessary for lifelong learning, to be a compassionate individual and a globally responsible citizen. The goal of IB is to create international mindedness, and so we say if a student graduates with being able to embody the 10 learner profiles, then they do go on to make this a better, more peaceful world. And as you can see in the picture there, as Mr. Pettit spoke of, that top left-hand picture shows some of the IB students who came over. Because the learner profile attributes are woven through all 4 programs, they came over to help our students kind of paint a picture of what each of those attributes looks like in real life. And then Ms. Gray took those back to Gilbert High, and they hang in the IB lounge over there, which is kind of neat. The picture on the right of the bulletin board there is to show you that, like Mr. Pettit said, every learner at Patterson is an IB student. So that bulletin board right there was done from our schools students who are in the life skills. So even preschool and specialty programs are connected through the learner profile attributes. So we find a way for everybody to connect to the framework at Patterson. Okay, the transdisciplinary themes. The PYP is guided by 6 transdisciplinary themes of global significance. They are applicable to any learner anywhere in the world, which makes it kind of neat to be able to study concepts that can apply across the globe. At Patterson, our students in kindergarten inquire into 4 global themes, 2 of which being who we are and how we express ourselves. Students in grades 1 through 6 inquire into all 6 of the themes. Most of them run roughly 6 weeks. They are built around a conceptually rich central idea, and those were taken from the Arizona State Academic Standards for social studies, science, and English language arts. If the opportunity arises organically, other subjects across the disciplines are also woven into that for a more conceptual picture of learning as it's joined together and applied in the real world. Okay. Oh, there we go. I don't know what's happening. There we go. It's a user error. Under the transdisciplinary themes, we have our units of inquiry. And like I said, each grade level connects to a transdisciplinary theme at some point in the school year. The unit of inquiry is a 6 to 10 week in-depth exploration of that central idea. Under the central idea are lines of inquiry, typically 3, and those are framed by what we call the key concepts, which we will discuss a little bit later in the slideshow. Our teachers spend about 2 weeks per line of inquiry, and in addition to the lines of inquiry, they also are intentionally working on the learner profile attributes, as well as what we refer to as the ATL skills, the approaches to learning skills, both of which continue through all 4 levels of the IB continuum. Additionally, our units of inquiry are housed in the total learning management system, which is what the rest of the continuum uses as well. And it's a great way for the rest of our staff to be able to connect to the units of inquiry. One of the philosophies and beliefs in IB is that teachers at all levels and specialties connect to what students in their classrooms are learning about. So for example, if they are studying patterns per se in math, they might be studying patterns in music, patterns in art, patterns in PE, etc. So that allows our special areas to really dive deeper into those conceptual understandings that are being taught in the homeroom classroom. The approaches to teaching and learning. The approaches to teaching are really a pedagogical approach to inquiry and conceptual understanding. They're student-centered and they're built on building collaborative skills with the goal of students to have the ability to self-manage and self-adjust in their learning, so that student autonomy is really at the heart of that when the student graduates from an IB program. The approaches to learning are a set of skills that are really necessary for lifelong learning post K-12 education. We're finding, or research shows, that students leave high school oftentimes ill-equipped to be successful at the next level. And so this is something that is also woven through all 4 levels. It's something that Mrs. Gray and I work on too. What are you seeing with your students? Which approaches to learning there are your students struggling with, so that we can help support that and start building that even as young as kindergarten. And in the middle are really just the top 10 skills of 2025, according to that report. And so one way to be able to produce these learners that can think critically and communicate and think is really through the development of the ATLs. The key concepts, as I mentioned earlier, help really frame the direction and the meaning of a unit of inquiry. So our academic state standards, if you've looked at those, they really are very close in alignment from grade level to grade level, often nuanced very, very minimally. But the key concept that we attach to each line of inquiry helps to take that knowledge deeper. So for example, that picture there on the left is a group of first graders who are inquiring into energy as a life process. So they may be looking at that through one of those key concepts, such as form. What is energy like? Function, how does it work in the real world? Responsibility, what do I do as a person? How am I responsible for the use of energy? Now our students in 2nd grade, to take that deeper, may be looking at more causation and change. So really it allows us to move beyond just that knowledge piece to that understanding and application in the real world. Assessment in the PYP, that is something that is at the heart of our professional development plan this year. It also aligns with the Gilbert District's focus on formative assessment. In the IB, the philosophy is that we are focused more on the process over the product. We believe that Assessment shouldn't be something that is done to students, but rather with students. And so the PYP really encourages students to get involved with their learning. So students know exactly what they need to learn, where they are in their learning journey, and what they're going to do to be able to self-monitor and adjust. They work on giving and receiving feedback to peers as well as with their teachers. They keep learning logs of their process and their journey. They also help to co-construct and co-write a lot of their rubrics and success criteria. So really, when we think of learning with our students, we want anybody to walk into a classroom and say, hey, what are you learning? Why are you learning it? How will your teacher know when you've learned it? And what are you going to do with that learning? So by making that thinking and that process visible and embedding them into it, they take on that ownership and know exactly where they're going and what they need to get there. Student agency and action. Agency is defined in the PYP as voice, choice, and ownership. It nurtures student voice by bringing their questions and their wonderings into the units of inquiry and letting them help define the path that those inquiries take. And those may look different from year to year based on the questions and the background knowledge and the wonderings that the students are bringing that year. Students have choice in their learning by how they want to display what they've learned and what artifacts go into their portfolio. They have ownership in their learning because they're expected to have those accountability skills. That is something that those students need to own in order to move forward with that. Action is really connected to what they're learning in the program, and it's what we want students to do when they leave Patterson. Action is self-driven in the PYP, so we model that, of course, with our students, but we want to say, okay, so now what are you going to do with that learning? How does that apply in the real world? So we're very intentional about pointing out those moments to students. And for example, that picture at the top is one of our second grade students who learned about the Dia de los Muertos and went home and made her own ofrenda to honor her family members that have passed on. The picture of the two girls, they saw a need around campus for picking up garbage and that our garden needed to be tended. And so they started a garden club. Part of IB also, as we spoke about earlier, is contributing to service. So we have our service projects that we run as a school, but we also encourage our students to come up with ways to offer service. So last year, our first graders thought, well, there's kids out there who probably don't have books. Let's start a book drive. And we've had, we had somebody from the district come speak about the need for items for our unhoused people, and they started a drive for that. So really, we want to encourage these people at any age, these kids, that you can make a difference, and action can be big or small. So I'm going to turn it over now back to Mr. Pettit to wrap up with our Spanish.
She's always a tough act to follow there. Spanish language is a key component and a required component of the PYP, and so we selected Spanish as our language for obvious reasons, close to the Mexican border here, but also our community. It's very prominent in the high schools as a language of choice as well. So we went, our curriculum is through Calico Spanish. What the students do is they go to Spanish class 30 to 40 minutes a week. It's hard to teach an entire language in that, so it's a lot of focus on culture, basic understanding of the language. Our goal, it was new last year, so our goal is to have some kind of promise to the parents of like, this is what your student will get if they come here K through 6. That's our next steps. We don't think they'll be fluent when they leave there, but we do want them to have an understanding of the language and be ready to go into junior high and keep going if they wanted to. So nowhere near what Justin has at Gilbert with the dual language, but it's fun. It's exciting to go see them learning about the different cultures, hearing kids using Spanish terms around campus. We, on our daily video announcements, have Spanish words sometimes in there to keep them, learning new vocabulary as well. So that kind of wraps it up. That's us on our celebration last year. Thank you to Mr. Brainerd and Dr. Ryan and Dr. Martin for coming out, and Dr. McCord. It was an exciting day. Our students, being an IB campus. We wanted to make sure our students were a big part of it, and so they did the speeches, and it was a fun day to recognize all the staff and students' hard work over the last 4 to 5 years that paid off with being authorized. So if you have any questions, that would be now, but also I wanted to make sure everybody knew about February 27th is our first exhibition, which is a kind of a wrapping up the PYP program. It's the 6th graders do put on an exhibition of their learning, and so they do those in the morning on February 27th. I can get Mrs. Wilson the information for the exact times and stuff. So thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to say, I've come out twice to Patterson with Mr. Blackburn to talk about the IB program, as well as with Mr. Pettit recently. And I just want to say it's amazing work what you guys have done. I've talked to many staff members at Patterson, and that task, to get that authorization is not easy. And I know it's taken hours of outside work as well. So I just truly appreciate all the work that you and your staff have done.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And my question is, I did have a question. What impacts have you seen on students, not only academically, but how they feel about learning? Because I know in IB they have a lot more, I guess, agency in it. And what have you seen?
We had a book study this afternoon, so we were actually just discussing this on how we have seen students are more comfortable taking risks, we've noticed. We had some 5th grade teachers sharing about students that normally wouldn't share an answer or be uncomfortable, thinking they're wrong. Everybody shares. There's no judgment or anything like that. And I've seen that in kindergarten, 1st grade, where they're training them and teaching them these ways of it's a safe place. Everybody learns differently. It's okay to fail. We're all going to learn this together. It's the culture. We've seen a lot of growth with discussions. I was in a math class today, and they were doing, disagreeing but nicely about it, and learning and teaching discourse. There we go. And talking and sharing what they're learning, and they're like, "Oh, I guess that is the right answer. That is correct. I see how you did that there." The level of questioning is we've been working on that too with teachers. How they question students and not giving them answers. If they don't know the answer, or you don't make you don't lead them towards an answer. You're trying to hear what they say and how they go along and how they discuss things. The level of discussion is, I noticed it right away when I got there. So, anything else in this? No.
Anything else?
Oh, Dr. Robbins.
Yeah, a wonderful presentation. Thanks for all the work that's gone in the presentation and all the work before that in the program. I have just a quick question. Can we go back a couple slides?
Yeah.
Is that possible? To the moving away from, moving toward. And I'm trying to put my thoughts together here, so I hope it comes across the way I intend. Is the philosophy that kind of moving away from a big summative and feedback at the end towards the learning journey and process focus is, I can understand how that may be more healthy for many students, and maybe a better way to learn. Is the thought behind the philosophy that it's going to end up with better results, or that the results don't matter?
We hope that the results are there because they are learning at a higher level and more involved with their learning, and they have more buy-in to their learning. We would never say results don't matter, but we want to produce. That's
a little extra blunt.
No, I get it.
But are we de-emphasizing the result and focusing on the process, or is it, hey, this is a better journey to improve results at the end?
I had a similar question. Are we grading on the journey / effort, or are we grading on the result? That was a question I had.
I can tell you that we're not waiting to the end where it's an autopsy when it's too late. So really having students focusing on the process is more about being able to be responsive in your teaching and learning practices. So really correcting and allowing for that journey to navigate in a different way. If students need reteaching, if students have already mastered that, it allows for differentiation. So it is the process, meaning that we are watching that and learning, like, what did I learn during this journey? What misconceptions did I have? What do I know now? How has my thinking changed? So at the end, it's too late if we just say, hey, you got to be on this test, or you did however you did on this test. We want to capture that prior to that. So students have a solid understanding of where they are and where they need to go in their steps towards that success criteria, towards that learning target. They do that through reflective practices, through really self-assessing themselves. What do I already know? What do I need to know? Where am I strong? Where am I weak? What's working? What's not working? So we take all that into account, and it's very fluid from day to day. We're not just saying, well, we hope they learned it. We are looking at that evidence along the way and having them show that in their visible thinking daily.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, and there's still tests, there's still assignments that are graded. So that's where there's still an end product and there's still grades. So that's what like the report card's based off of. But we also, like we mentioned earlier, they're doing weekly goals, and they know, we're trying to get them where they know what they're learning, what they're working on, what they can communicate with their parents. These are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. That's what we're not going for like the 9-week grade as much as probably as we used to. It's more of along the way. That's the process part. There's still projects with grades, there's still tests, and yeah.
Is your anticipation, and we don't need to get into a discussion of, high stakes tests or state testing and whether that's valuable or not, but just is your anticipation that this way of teaching and this process focus will lead to improved scores on state testing, or no change, or maybe not as good as scores?
We're through there would be any dip or anything from the philosophy being changed, I think, because we've been through it for a few years now. We're hoping we're now on like the upward trajectory. We do outperform our demographic, so our kids are already doing pretty well. We'd love for them to do better, of course, but we hope that gets them, yeah.
If I may share a couple statistical points, Dr. Martin, Ms. Hanson, Mr. Bircher, myself, constantly reviewing data, as you know. What we've seen since 2022, when really this journey was kicked off in high gear, from a state reporting mechanism, from an A rating piece, we were a B on campus at that point in time, 82 points in total. They've now gone as high as 96 points over the last 2 years, 94 points this year. Their growth numbers are through the roof, so they earned over 48 of the 50 possible growth points in their students this year. I think that really the conversation is, if we do things the right way and we do it with fidelity at a high level, the results will come. As Mr. Pettit said, there are assessments throughout as well, and so we're gauging those all the time. I would say one of our highest level campuses in terms of being able to predict what the outcome is going to be prior to any state assessment occurring. I think they have a really good handle on where the students are at, probably even more so than some of our other campuses at this point in time because of this unique work. So same conversation, actually going back a handful of years with Dr. McCord. What are the results going to look like? And that's a promise we make always when we implement.
Yeah, thanks.
Mr. Thompson.
Ms. Humphries?
I don't have a question, but I want to thank you for the hard work. And my question was about the Spanish, and you answered it just as I was thinking it in my head, so thank you. And I'm very impressed with the quality of what you're doing and helping the kids to take ownership and to have that that thought process of how they're going to learn and grow and solve a problem. I think that's really, really important in the way work is done in today's world that we need. I'm sorry, I don't think AI is going to take over. I think we need very thoughtful people doing very difficult work to solve our problems. And seeing these kids learning that at this young age, it just gives me a great deal of hope. So thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to say thank you. You guys and Gilbert High, this is a heavy lift. I know from behind the scenes, and I know it's hard sometimes getting everybody on the same page and pointed in the right direction. And I remember when we started IB over at Gilbert High, and it was COVID time and not the best time to start anything. And it's really gone, to another level. And you guys are going to have students coming from Patterson, going to GAMS, going through Gilbert High, with just this ability to understand. And I look at it when some of these questions were asked, I think we're just teaching kids to own their learning a little bit more than what we do on a daily basis. And I think at the end, they're going to understand the why 10 times more than maybe some other kids will. So thank you for that, and I appreciate what you guys have been doing.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to our consent agenda item. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda item as written?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Robeson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. All those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda as outlined, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. That passes. Moving on to our action items, 7.01, increase in nutrition services lunch prices for fiscal year 2027. Is there a motion to approve an increase in nutrition services lunch prices for fiscal year 2027?
I move that we increase nutrition services lunch prices for FY 2027.
Thank you, Ms. Humphries. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Robeson. Dr. McCord?
Thank you, Mr. President, governing board members. We have Natalie Tenney, our Director of Nutrition Services here. We also, obviously, Ms. Betts has alluded to this in her monthly budget report. Again, this is due to inflationary increases associated with labor and food supplies, and we are requesting a 10-cent increase for the 26-27 school year. Ms. Betts or Ms. Tenney will entertain any questions you may have.
So just to set up the conversation, just wanted to share that we have increased our meal prices over the last 4 years since the pandemic, and since we were out of the universal free breakfast and lunch. We increased the first year for 2024, which was a 10-cent increase, and then again in 2025, which was another 10-cent increase. And at this point, we did not increase for the current year, which is the 2026 school year. But with the $1.5 million expected drawdown, and knowing that our equipment at many of our kitchens are aging just like our facilities, wanted to make sure that we were being thoughtful and increasing our prices slowly, with honoring our families, but also making sure that at no point in time we would be negatively impacting our general fund budget. So again, Natalie Tenney is here to answer any specific questions, as well as myself. And so if you have anything that you'd like us to clarify, we're ready and willing to answer any questions.
So maybe I missed it. You're asking the board for approval for a 10-cent increase. Is this just at the elementary level, or is it?
It's all levels, but only for lunch. So we're keeping all the breakfast prices the same. A couple of details. These are for paid lunches, so this will not impact those students that are on free and reduced lunch. They still would be, at least for this year, the reduced price students will still get free breakfast and lunch due to the subsidy from the state of Arizona. And then also the important thing is that there is a bill in the House of Representatives to increase the paid reimbursement by over that 10 cents. And so if that is approved, we will vacate the approval and we will not be increasing our paid prices at all. So that increase, in fact, Natalie, can you help me? Do you know what the projected increase is that the Massachusetts representative is recommending?
Maybe it's on, yes. I believe it's 55 cents at lunch and 35 cents at breakfast. So it's a significant increase, even farther than the emergency increase during COVID. So if that were to happen based on labor and food costs raising, then that would be way more than the 10 cents, yes.
The expected increase in revenue for nutrition services would be about $125,000 for the year. That would be the expected increase at that 10 cents. And so keep in mind, if you have a child that participates in our lunch program every day, so it'd be a 50-cent per week increase. And then if they're there every day for the full 180 days, it'd be a total increase for the year of about $18. So again, trying to be thoughtful about our recommendations, but trying to make sure that we can still provide a high quality product and be able to continue to be able to do that.
So I know how it works at the elementary level. The kids kind of get their trays and they go down the line and get their food, and there's limited selections. It's kind of like, this is what's for lunch today, right? Is it the same at our junior highs and high schools, or do kids have more choices? And how does the 10-cent increase, how does it come into play there when they're choosing different items, a different number of items, different types of items, and it's not just like, here's what's for lunch, it's chicken nuggets today. So how does that work at those levels?
Great question. Do you want me to fill this one? Okay. That's a great question. So yes, there is limited choices at the elementary, but there still is 3 to 4 choices every single day. And then at the junior high and the high school, there are more choices. So there are more hot lunch choices and more cold lunch choices. Also, in the meal pattern, junior high and high school students can get more quantity of food. So again, same thing, the 10 cents would go towards that.
So are you asking like per item? Like, are we adding 10 cents per?
No,
or is it just like you get XXX and this consumes a meal, and that is going to be 10 cents more? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So the 10 cents would go towards labor and food cost. So it's not per item like that. And so we do have commodities for food. We also offer fresh fruit and vegetables, which is offer versus serve. So some students have unlimited amount of fruits and vegetables they can take, and some students say, I don't want any. So kind of balances all of that out.
So Natalie, this is not a la carte, right? These are meals, and so
Correct.
what's generally included in a full meal, regardless, like if they've got 2 or 3 choices of a full meal, what could those choices be?
So at breakfast, you have to have at least 3 components of a meal, and at lunch, it has to be 4 out of the 5. So you would have grains, protein, fresh fruit and vegetables, fluid milk if you want, and then any of the side items, which would be other vegetables, which we break into colors. So you would have to, on the week, offer at least so much, and then they would have to take so much. So when they pass the register with the person working, if it's not a complete meal, we send them back to go get more things. And the complete meal is what you get reimbursed through the government for. So if you saw on her chart, $469 was for the full reimbursement. So even if we were to take the price that a paid student pays right now, plus what we get from the government, it's still less than what we get as a government reimbursement for the free meal.
So I know in the past, I appreciate that explanation. That cleared it up for me. I know in the past, I think in the past, unless I'm not remembering this accurately, when we've raised prices, we've done different amounts at the different levels. It hasn't just been a blanket, increase that's the same at all of our elementary, junior high, and high schools. Is that accurate, or am I wrong?
So I've been here since 2008, and since I've worked here, it's always been the same amount. There hasn't been different amounts. When we did the first amount, it was 10 cents. Then in 2019, it was voted on in the 2018 spring, and it was enacted in 2019-20 school year. It was 25 cents because they had gone a long time without doing an increase. And so we thought it is easier for the families to do it more gradually than to all of a sudden, oops, we should have been watching our budget and doing a little bit here and there. And then all of a sudden, and so previously we had to do the 25 cents because we were so behind on it. So we thought by doing smaller incremental increases, less burden on the families and also less surprise, like she said, when the fund balance keeps going down.
I will say that the board asked for more frequent increases after that vote, because we
That
felt
wasn't popular, yeah.
Yeah, it was just hard for families to make that jump, and also I think we increased our after-school and preschool prices at the same time. So it was a lot for families to absorb all at once. So we decided that doing it more frequently and being more careful so that it's a smaller increase and easier for the family to absorb.
More gradual and in smaller amounts so that we can still, we are following all the regulations for like the lower added sugars and not the artificial colors and flavors and things like that, to keep it high quality, things that the students like, and fuel them for learning and success in the classroom so that we can continue to give the high quality products that they're used to. But at the same time, not, like she said, if the other bill passes, which it's still in the formation and needs to be voted on and approved and all these things, if that goes through, then we're not going to do it just to do it, because then we'd be getting more for the reimbursement already.
So, Mr. Thompson,
Go
you can
ahead.
see from this grid that the different, that you can see that we've already got a
This is what I was
differentiation.
thinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If by grade level, it's a different, so we're just increasing by 10 cents across the board.
So if we vote to approve a 10-cent increase tonight, and then the state legislature votes to approve,
Congressional.
The
It would be the
congressional-
USDA, so it'd be national.
okay, so, and they approve it, would we rescind our 10-cent increase?
So she said we would vacate our request.
Okay.
Because then we would already be getting more funding from the government for each meal.
Would that require another board action, or is that something that the district can do without approval?
Good question. We'll find out.
Just curious.
These things usually move quite slowly, and so we are
Government?
tracking it.
No.
No, not
Come
government. We are tracking it so that we are staying up to date. But as of right now, there hasn't been any movement on it. So we don't want to get our hopes up either way, I guess.
So just my prediction is, even if it passes, it will take 2 or 3 years for us to see the outcome. Just
You never know. I think the USDA works pretty quick when it comes to stuff like that, because they have to do reimbursements right away after an approval. But to go back to answer your question, we would bring it back for you to resend it, because it'd be great to publicly say, hey, we're not going to charge you extra money.
Good
So,
news, yeah. We'd rather, and instead of a bad surprise, a good surprise. Because truthfully, the USDA is, everything done there is through Congress. And so that's what makes the more delay, is all of the approvals. Once you get the approval, then yes, it goes through the proper channels for the funding and then makes it back to our state. But we are very careful with those resources and want to maximize them to the fullest benefit. So if we don't have to do the 10 cents, then we will let you know.
Do we, do you want to go?
Sorry. So my question was, what percentage of our students are paying for lunch? What percentage are receiving the free and reduced lunch? And what percentage are bringing their own lunch? Kind of.
So do you have
Just
this
ballpark.
year's percentage, or do you have last year's? I saw some percentages fly by, but anyways, we're right about 30% at this year that are on free and reduced, and 70%, so rounding a little, it might be 30.1 or something like that. The vast majority of ours are paid. If you look at her chart for the meal service trends, the orange is the reimbursements, and then the blue is the breakfast reimbursements, and then, okay, I don't think this is the chart that tells that. This is how many people are buying meals.
Just the number of meals,
Mhm.
number of meals.
So So the meal amount has stayed about the same except for when we were in universal free meals following the COVID pandemic. And then here, if you see the orange is federal revenue, so that is our reimbursements. The blue is local revenue, that's what the community is paying, and the families. And then the gray is the total revenue. So if you notice, going back pre-pandemic, 19 and 20, we were getting a little more of the blue. People were paying more than we were getting from the government in the orange. And then all of a sudden the orange skyrocketed because everything was free. And then in 23, 24, it's now reversed with the federal. Oh, is this too long of an explanation? Sorry, Dr. McCord.
I said you're talking in colors. I love it. Bonnie always talks numbers. You're talking
hope no one's
colors, and I
colorblind
like
here.
the colors.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the orange in 2023, if you can see, the federal revenue inched up a little and the local revenue went down a little, and then same in 2024. So what we're seeing is that a great amount of people are buying the meals with their own money instead of just the free and reduced kits. That's how I interpret it. Sorry about all the colors.
Yeah, so probably more are buying not the local revenue is actually more students, even though it's a lesser amount of net money because the reimbursement's lower.
Right, and I think the other important thing is that if you look from 23, the blue bar in 24 is higher than in 23.
There we go.
So we're increasing participation, and I wasn't able to update it, but the 25 result is even another 100,000 meals were purchased in 2025 as well. So even with the small incremental increases, we are still driving participation, even for those that are paying. So we're competing with our local businesses to keep kids at school and eating our lunches, which is really exciting.
Do you know what the projected, so you said, sorry, 140,000, or the 10 cent increase would lead to how much?
About $125,000 in revenue, so pretty small, you know.
And do you know what the projected federal change would lead to in increased revenue?
Well, she indicated, what would you say, like 40 cents or something?
35 and 55.
So the last 3 years, the reimbursement rate for the paid students has gone up by 2 cents. So last year right now it's 44 cents, it was 42, and it was 40. So it's only going by 1 to 2 cents. So if this bill were to pass in Congress and the USDA were to do a huge jump like that, then that would be a lot.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we know that number. If we don't, that's okay.
She can start, so she knows our number, and
So
we can
I'm-
times it by that.
Yeah, so it's about, I think we had about $2.2 million worth of paid meals last year, if I'm remembering the AFRs right. Is that correct?
Yes, and Julianne just gave you the number to times for the 10 cent. We could
So
do
it'd be
it
about
times the other.
$1 million. It'd be just under $1 million. You know, just under 800,000 would be an additional revenue if we received the 35 cents more per meal from the federal government.
And we don't have a lot of control over that. I definitely comment on all their bills, and I comment on all their proposed rules. I ask people to chime in. We do everything we can to support it, but if they either decide not to vote on the bill or decide to vote no on the bill, then we don't really have any control of it, whether they do that or not.
Right. So even with a $125,000 increase in revenue, we would still expect a considerable drawdown in the balance the next year. So just kind of projecting out $6 million, it seems like going with the current trend, we'd exhaust that over the next 4 to 5 years. How did we build up to $6 million? And I guess once we don't have that, then we're looking at a sizable jump in 4 to 5 years, I guess. Is there planning out?
I appreciate the question. We're always monitoring that very closely. So one of the things that we did not expect is that we would actually gain in fund balance over 2025. So we actually gained in that position by about $300,000. That was due to the fact that we did address some major capital needs in 2024 that we didn't need to address in 2025. So this is kind of an indicator that we're going to have to take a look closely at our asset planner. All of our nutrition services equipment is in there, so we can determine those costs. And also, we did not know how to project the impact of the community eligibility program that we added 2 sites in the current year. So now we've got Burke as well as Mesquite Junior along with Harris. So the participation at Harris is amazing. The other, a shout out to Judy, our caterer at Gilbert High. Her participation is, oh my gosh, she's serving 1,300 kids, 1,300 meals at lunch a day at Gilbert High.
Over 250 breakfasts.
So the kids are really, they're choosing our offerings, which is also very, very exciting. So all those things, as we increase participation, we have opportunities to increase revenue. Again, we're just trying to project as best we can, and just be thoughtful about how we're increasing prices. I think the other thing is that if you look at this, the USDA reimbursement for free students, you can see that $4.69. Whether that's enough or not is a question mark, but we're proposing $3.20. We receive 44 cents on top of that from the federal government. So we're at $3.64 for lunch elementary versus $4.69. So we're still below that USDA reimbursement, and we still feel that we can afford that. So all of these things are talked about on a regular basis. They're very valid questions. Doing the best we can, I guess, is my best answer.
Yeah.
Was your question about the remaining fund balance, though? 3 to 5 million?
Well, yeah.
versus-
I mean, you're addressing it. I guess, is it accurate to look at it and think, hey, in 5 to 6 years, we're going to draw down that entire balance? Because it seems like if we continue on the trend from this year, that's kind of what it would be.
And I think there's so many moving parts to answer that question. One of the things that I've been very appreciative about Natalie's team is since universal free lunch has gone away, she's had to right size all of her food service operations at each of our schools to make sure she's got the right amount of labor given the participation rates. So she and her team do that every single day. So as an example, our salary total was about $6 million in 2024, and last year it was 5.8. So that's an indicator that we're trying to right-size everything. So we don't want to overreact, I think, without really knowing what we have in front of us. So could be that, might not be. It's hard to know.
So was the balance built by
The balance
the
was built.
reimbursement we had post-COVID? Is that kind of what
It was-
the
it was
balance
due-
is?
due to this.
Traditionally, always around 3 to 4 to 5 tops million, traditionally before COVID.
For fund balance,
For
yeah.
fund balance. And then when the universal, did we go up to 11, 12?
We were up to over 10. We were over 10.
Yeah, so that was what did that. Then we used it for equipment and continued. So previously, the hourly wage was a lot less. Like when I started with food service, it was $6.99 an hour for the part-time people. And now they're starting at like
You told me $6.88.
$6.99.
I'm kidding.
I was right below 7. I was almost 7. And so that's the thing is right now they're starting closer to 15 something. So these are the kind of things that we do not want to wait till it gets down to 0. We're trying to keep it about where it should be and where it traditionally was and where the USDA says, you need so much in emergency reserve. And so we're just really trying to, like she said, it is a little bit of a guesswork and a gamble, but we do see the trend of it getting used up.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll call for the vote.
Did anybody want to have discussion about it before we vote? I mean,
Oh.
we've asked questions, but we haven't discussed as a board.
Is there any discussion among the board in regard to this increase?
I'm sorry, I just thought of one more question I'd like to ask.
That's okay.
So if we vote to approve the 10 cents tonight, and then let's say we happen to get the federal money, are we just going to continue to keep that 10 cents in there even though we didn't need it? Like, let's say they've been paying it for a year and it's not until next year that they decide to pass this. You know what I'm saying? So, because I was kind of thinking along the same lines Blake was. It's like, okay, well, if we were at 3 to 4 million before and now we're at 6 million, we're still higher. So why charge our families now when this may be going through? You know, why not wait a year and see what happens to the fund balance and then charge our families the extra 10 cents once we may have, I know it's all big question marks, but may have a better idea of what the federal government's going to do.
So my answer is, because our projection right now is by the end of this year, we would draw down another $1.5 million. So we're not talking about increasing our prices right now. We're talking about increasing them for the next fiscal year. So that was why. We have to do it early. It's a judgment call and a recommendation from us is all, yeah.
And again, you don't know what the federal government is actually going to do yet.
We don't,
so
but we'll bring
that's
it back to, I think Dr. McCord made the commitment that in the event it comes back, we'll just have you affirm that we're not going to increase it by the 10 cents because we're going to receive additional federal reimbursement.
And there is a chance that maybe that legislation would not pass. I mean, who knows?
Well, sure. I was just looking at it, though, that we're still higher than what we were originally at with the 3
It's
to 4.
true. Oh, that's
so, I don't know. I do think about the families, and I want to make sure that, if we make that decision, I understand it's a minimal amount per family, but if we're planning on continually increasing over time, I could see it as families go, well, wait a second, they're already up another $1 or $2 million. We asked for an extra 10 cents, and then down the road in a year or two, we have to ask for another 10 cents, and just wouldn't want them to pick up on a pattern of like, they already still have the extra $2 million. Why are they keep asking us for money now?
I think personally, it's just really important that we have that reserve so that we don't then have to do what we did previously, which is, a 25 cent or a 30 cent increase. I think it's better to go more frequently and err a little on the side of having more of a reserve so that we don't have to ask families for 25, 30, or even 50 cents. Because it was hard when we had to raise them before.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I got the impression that a $3 or $4 million reserve in the past was fine for all of our maintenance needs and all of our equipment needs. But I thought I heard somebody in there say that we're expecting that need to increase because of the age of our equipment. And so whereas 2 or 3 years ago, a $3 or $4 million surplus was enough, now it's going to be, because the cost of everything has gone up, that 3 or 4 million is now requiring a $5 or $6 million surplus. And so I think you're absolutely right, Ms. Murray, that 3 or 4 millions, is less than the 5 or 6 that we have now. So why are we doing this? I think it's because that 5 or 6 isn't going as far as it would have 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, and that's the new 3 or 4 million, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Okay.
Anytime I'm going to make a vote on this, I just want to make sure I understand it completely before I say yes or no. Yeah.
Glad for the questions.
Yeah,
Those are
thank
good
you.
questions. Is there any other discussion before we vote?
No.
Okay. All those in favor of increasing a 10-cent increase in nutrition services lunch prices for fiscal year 2027, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. That passes. The 7.02, 2026 to 2027 course description books for high schools and junior highs. Dr. McCord.
Thank you, Mr. President, governing board members. It's that time of year, and if you're familiar at all with what we do in November, December-ish, it's course description book time. That's where Dr. Cox and her team get together with all of our principals, APs, counselors from our surrounding high schools and junior highs, and they make additions or deletions to our course description book. And this is getting students ready because we start the registration process probably in February, and we need time to get things put in our system so all of our counselors can advise our students appropriately. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Ryan and Dr. Cox, and they can fill you in on the rest.
All right. Good evening, Dr. McCord, President Thompson, and members of the board. As Dr. McCord just said, I am here this evening to share with you a summary of the changes that are being recommended to the board for both our junior high and high school course books. Before I go into those recommendations, I do want to just give a thank you to the committee. The committee is made up of 40 to 50 people per group. We have different stakeholders that are included in that room, from classified employees, counselors, teachers, administrators at district and site level. And it takes a lot of insight to make sure that the book is as user-friendly and that the course offerings are as robust as our students deserve in our community. So thankful to our community and our committee for all the hard work that they put in over the years with this process. So we do go through as a committee, and each campus, just to share with the board what the process entails, is every year, starting early in the school year, every campus has the autonomy to make any recommendation that they would like to see in the course book. So that could be a change in anything that already exists, that could be adding to the course book, that could be removing from the course book. It could be anything from grammatical to a brand new course recommendation. The process at that time is that the recommendations at the campus level are viewed with their administrative team, and they have now been kind of trained, and we work together as a team to make sure that the site administration are looking through those recommendations in alignment to our district vision and district improvement plan and goals and strategic operating plan that we have as a district, to make sure that when we get into the committee work that we're really bringing forth the recommendations that are in alignment with those pieces that our district believes in. Then at that time, we bring all of those recommendations that have been approved at the site level together with the committees that I just shared. And the committee, we work, it's 8 hours a day, multiple days for each level. And we talk through and make sure that all campuses then agree with that, because we believe that these books represent Gilbert Public Schools. And we try our hardest to make sure that if we're adding an offering, I would say 90% of what you'll see in the book, we have worked toward unifying, and we are Gilbert Public Schools. And we want to make sure that if there's an offering that a campus wants, that they get to take advantage of those opportunities. The other 10% of the book, because of different programs and agreements that we have, there are some offerings in the book that are representative of specific schools, which we'll go into in a moment as well. And then when the committee goes through all of that, we have a final meeting that goes before a handful of cabinet members and our building principals for them to kind of hear what recommendations the committee is recommending to bring to the board. And that group then finalize the recommendations that are going to be shared with all of you this evening. So the way that I've organized it, I know each of the board members were given a spreadsheet that kind of just summarizes the changes rather than scroll through hundreds of pages of these booklets. I'm going to summarize those, but I know that the community have a copy of that draft book, and just so for anybody that is watching, we strike out and put anything in red that we're recommending to be removed. Anything that's in blue is just verbiage that we're looking to add. And then there are some organizational changes that I'll talk through, but we won't make in the book until we have the board's approval. So I'm going to dive in. First, I'm going to talk about organizational changes. When looking at the book, the beginning part of it has a lot of general information that our counselors use to drive all of their conversations with our students. So the counselors have really taken ownership of what the beginning of the book looks like, because it just helps make sure that those student meetings and our communication with our parents and our students is adequate. And then in the back of the book, we do have a handful of sections that support our programs. And that's the organizational changes and sections that I'm going to reference. And then once I get through that, we'll actually dive into the courses and any changes or recommendations that are being made there. So with the organizational recommendations for the junior high, and there are some that are consistent junior high and high school, so then instead of going through the junior high list and the high school, I'm just going to lump them all together. If I miss anything that you guys notice, you're going to have plenty of time at the end to ask any questions. But for the sake of time, I thought it'd be easier to condense some of that. So for 7 through 12, you will notice that we are revising our summer school information to meet the needs of the information that parents, like we get a lot of parent calls when it comes to some of these topics, which then is an indicator to us as a leadership team to make sure that we are communicating to be more transparent with the questions that we get to hopefully eliminate those questions that our parents and or students have. So when it comes to summer school, we do have a new principal over summer school this past couple of years, and she has done a lot of work with looking around our state, specifically the East Valley and comparable districts, and then looking at the needs of our district. And she has spent a lot of time in the last 2 years honing in on what those pathways should be for our summer school. So you'll see that the section is reorganized to add some transparency, and it's a little bit more in depth. A lot of the information that's been adjusted for summer school was always given out separate, but the feedback that we got from our parents is that it would be nice to have it in the same section instead of having to refer to a different document. So that is one organizational change you'll see there. In addition, we have our dual language immersion program that is at Gilbert L. And over the last couple of years, we've worked to expand that to our junior high level so that we have a better bridge in keeping our students that are passionate about dual language and being a part of an actual immersion program. And so with that, it was suggested that we add a section that explains what the DLI program is, because at the secondary level, we haven't had that in Gilbert Public Schools, and so we have some students and parents and faculty that are just not familiar with what that program is. So we added a section that kind of explains that program. And you'll notice last year and this year, there are some DLI classes that are being recommended. So since we were adding program type classes, we wanted to make sure to have a section that explains those as well. And then in our junior high book, there are math classes and world language classes that count for high school credit. And it was brought to our attention to maybe be more transparent and kind of bold which ones count for high school credit so that families and students are aware going into that, which ones are for credit. Either A, they're looking for that and they want to be able to more easily find them, and or some families kind of voiced that maybe it wasn't as transparent, and so they maybe got into something and didn't realize until the first couple of weeks of school, and maybe that wasn't the option that they were looking for. So that was great feedback, and we went ahead and adjusted. So now in the junior high book, they are all right at the top of the box so that it's one of the first things that our students will see. There will be notable changes to our GAM section, and that is with the IB. You heard a great presentation from Patterson Elementary just a while ago, and our middle years program at GAMS is in their going for their candidacy as well. And so we are putting this stuff in here because I firmly believe that they are going to be approved for all of that, and we don't want to then be stuck waiting a whole nother year. We want it to be in our book and ready to go once they receive the credentials to move forward with that, which we should be hearing back shortly. And then our last section that is for 7 and 12 that you'll notice some revisions to is our Gilbert Classical Academy. There has been some revision to the scope of coursework that our students are going to be taking there to allow for our GCA students a little bit more option and to be able to choose a few of their electives as opposed to having such a prescribed schedule. And so with that, there has been a lot of work with Dr. Hood and our cabinet team to look at what would be best for our GCA students. And one of the recommendations that has been made is going from 7 academic classes that are prescribed to 6 academic courses within the day where they do get a little bit of flexibility over their elective choices, which are denoted in the charts on those pages. All right, and then within the high school book, a couple additional organizational changes. You will see that our CTE section, at the very end of our CTE section, we used to lump all of our internship opportunities together at the end of the CTE portion, because we were trying to save space, if I'm being honest. And the feedback that we got is that when a student or family is maybe looking at the biomed program, they were not then going to the end of the CTE section to look for the internship opportunity, so they felt like they were missing out on some of those. So you'll notice that it looks like there's several new internship classes. They're not new, we've just decided to add them at the end of each of the CTE programs so that students are very well aware of those internship opportunities that exist, because we're really excited about those and our students are really excited about them as well. So we're just trying to advertise them more. And then there are several denotations that have been added because we are continuously trying to add dual enrollment opportunities within our district and want to make sure that as we gain teachers that have the certification or we get classes approved, we want to add those on to the list. So you'll notice that that list has grown, and then we've gone through classes that nothing has changed other than we've been awarded the acceptance to be able to offer them for dual enrollment. So that is throughout the book. We didn't call them out individually, but you'll be able to notice that phrase wherever it's added is just that now students have the opportunity to choose to take that for dual enrollment. And then as a separate attachment that everyone has received and has been published, we did receive the updated EVIT program guide, and that does go at the end of our high school book, and we just take what we receive from them as a part of our agreement with them, and that gets added in. So the EVIT information is not anything that we edit, it's just what we work with and what we receive. So I separated that out this year just because of it being more of a program guide. So if you're curious to learn more about that, it is separate from what GPS has any control over, if that makes sense. When looking at the EVIT stuff, there haven't been any changes. So if you're familiar with it from years past, it's formatted a little bit differently, and everything else is consistently the same. All right, so moving into fees, I'm going to, again, this is a section I'm going to just do 7-12 together. We are not making many recommendations for fee changes. I know that Nutrition Services just talked about the 10-cent increase, so we do list all of our course fees in our book for our families, and so that will be one, now that the board has approved that we would like to add into our book as well. The summer school, after doing a salary study across the East Valley, across the state, we are making the recommendation to increase the summer school and extra course fee from $200 to $250. When we have tracked the revenue that we're receiving from that, right now, if we continue to charge only $200, we will not be able to continue to offer summer school because we won't have enough funds to be able to pay for teachers to be able to run summer school. So when we started to see some of that and look into the trends, we really wanted to make sure that we were able to fund it and have enough teachers to be able to run summer school. Because we know so many of our students take advantage of that opportunity, not only for credit recovery, but for credit advancement. We have a lot of students that need release time during their regular day and really rely on that, and or are very overzealous with the amount of classes that they want to take and just really like to have those extra class opportunities during the summer. And again, with those extra course fees. In addition to summer school, the class fee, there would be a recommendation to increase the transportation fee from $50 to $75 per session. This is due to inflation, and there was a study done with Mrs. Bett's team on that part as well. And the other transportation fee that we would be recommending would be our sports academy at South Valley, in that they currently charge $50 per sport to transport students, and the recommendation would be to increase that to $75. Same thing per sport, and it would be in alignment with the same justification as the inflation that we're just, after doing those studies, recognizing that there's a need to be able to continue to provide those transportation to those students. Underneath technology services, there are several. I lumped them together in the summary sheet, but if you look in the draft, you'll see that over time, some of the fees are no longer even a part of our device anymore, so they have dropped off, and then there have been some updates to some of those fees as well. So rather than kind of go item by item, if you refer to that part, it's very minimal, and it's really nothing significant. It's just they're different. They may be, like I know now the computers have like a touchpad, so if that breaks, that didn't used to exist. And so there's different pieces like that with tech services that annually we get that list of updates. We haven't had to increase anything with our devices, I believe, in 3 or 4 years. So this is the first time that we've actually had shifts in those costs in a while. And then that covers all of the 712 fees that are kind of overarching. At the high school level, the only class fee that was proposed, because we've done quite a bit of work with this to really eliminate adding fees to our families. We work really hard to make sure that it's truly justified before bringing that to this point. Our performing arts classes a few years ago had increased some of their fees, and at the time, no one was offering beginning or intermediate guitar, and so that class got missed. Now we have a couple of campuses that are offering that class, and there's been no fee, and so teachers have been paying out of pocket to supply some of that. So we went ahead and asked them to show us what they would use the funds for, and to kind of give us an itemized list. And they're proposing a $25 fee just for the minimal strings, really is what it comes down to, and that would be for this semester. So that is everything in relation to fees. And any organizational parts of the book. The next parts that I'm going to go into are the courses. I'm going to keep going unless if anyone wants to pause for questions on those 2 sections. Am I good?
Can I ask now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It might just be more relevant since there's a few more sections.
Yeah, so I guess the first question is not in relation to anything you've done in the book or any of the changes, which I think is great. I think emphasizing the classes they take in junior high that are high school classes is great in the course description book. I just wanted to make sure, are we like actually in the class during those first few weeks? Are the teachers emphasizing that
Yes.
in the classroom?
Yes.
Because it seems everyone should read this book.
Yes.
But for those who don't, we just want to make sure that, I mean, kids know.
Yes,
Okay.
they absolutely do. And the feedback that we got came from immediately the teachers having to kind of do schedule changes within the first couple days. It wouldn't even be really the first couple of weeks. I think if they identify a student that they think they want to encourage to try it out, they give them that couple of weeks. But it was really the shift in that first couple of days of having them denoted this way.
Okay, terrific. Yeah. And then for the sports academy, you say per sport. I thought, are we transporting kids to multiple sports? I thought they were transported from the school. Why is there a per sport fee? What does that mean? Are people being transported for more than one sport?
Yes, they can be. From my understanding, they can maybe have a fall sport and then maybe have a spring sport. I know a majority of the students focus on a single sport, but when I was speaking with Ms. Betts this morning, I know that they are able to, and there are some students that do then engage in multiple sports with different locations. So I'm not sure.
But one at a time.
Correct, it's one at a time.
So if someone does a different sport each quarter, they'll pay 4 times as much as someone who does one sport for the whole year?
No. It's per quarter. It's per quarter.
The fee is per quarter. Okay. Perfect. And then my last question was for the increases, well, I guess for all the increases, but for summer school, is there a discount or something different for students on free and reduced lunch, or is there some other type of, I guess, discount that students can apply for?
From what I am aware of, I know that we do some scholarships, and each year we share those opportunities with our counselors to share with our parents and or to kind of nominate some students that they know fit that criteria. And any of the students who are on free and reduced lunch are the students that we target for that. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Mrs. Taylor.
Yes, thank you. The last few years, any student who's on free and reduced, it's automatically waived half price.
Okay.
So it was 100 instead of 200. So we plan to
125.
continue that next year as well.
Okay.
In addition to that, we will scholarship certain kids even beyond that if there is a need for the family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will share that there are a few, you'll notice that through the course book, it represents many different departments that come together. So I'm glad I have a couple people that I can phone a friend over here. All right, any other questions on these sections? All right, so moving in, I'm going to focus now on the course changes and recommendations at the junior high level. So for new courses at the junior high level, we are making the recommendation to add a handful of dual language immersion classes, specifically to the social sciences and Spanish. Those are a part of the program that are required to be able to offer a program. In addition to that, we are recommending to add an elective for the IB middle years program, which I spoke to. There are several other IB classes that we have already kind of denoted, but this one would be a brand new class. So wanted to put that there. And then the career exploration would be a mini/a duo class, and what that is basically a class that our junior highs can use and run as a quarter class, a semester class, or even all year long. It allows them to provide multiple opportunities to junior high students. We've done a lot of work with our CTE programs and career exploration, which is a part of the graduation requirement for students as well. And we've kind of been backward designing down into our 7th and 8th grade classrooms. And so this would give them an opportunity to allow students to choose a class that allows them to kind of explore all the different careers instead of just choosing elective that is like one thing. So was really excited to see our junior highs propose that because it's really in alignment with what we're doing as a district with our vision. So that's all of the recommendations for new courses. And then in the changes throughout the junior high book, I am going to summarize these kind of in clusters. So you'll notice that there are several descriptions that are being updated to simply just become more robust and current with being in the year 2025. Some of these descriptions haven't been updated in easily 10 or 15 years. And so as we have, like for example, you'll see STEM is on there. STEM looks very different today than it did 10 years ago. So we wanted to make sure that those were reflective and truly that we've worked with the teachers to make sure that what is happening in the classroom is what our students deserve. And we feel like what was happening in the classroom is, and then if that's true, we want to update the description to match that. You'll also notice that last year we did a lot of updating our titles to be consistent from program to program. So if they're a mini or a smaller class, it's an introduction. And if it's a program where there's multiple levels, it goes introduction, level 1, level 2. That way, if you're looking at maybe a performing arts or a fine arts or STEM, whatever it is, they all have consistent titles. So you'll notice that there were a few on here that we either missed last year or maybe were a singleton, so we weren't sure if we wanted to change the title. And after we moved that way last year, the junior high team really took ownership and were like, hey, these are the last few, let's just do it. It really worked well with scheduling and helping people better understand the sequence of the programs. There was a little bit of some incorrect verbiage in some of our classes, like choir 1 and 2. It references that students won't have to solo perform, but technically that is a requirement when you look at the standards. And so we didn't want our descriptions going against what the state standards are. So we cleaned up a little bit of that. Our English language learners, you'll notice that underneath the prereq, it used to list out a few assessments that helped with placement, and those are out of date as of now. And now the state is allowing for showing proficiency on a variety of assessments. So we just changed the verbiage to say that so that it's not, we don't want to not include an assessment that maybe a student brings from another state or another school district. And then I think that covers all the changes for junior high. The last thing in the junior high book is that there are only 3 classes that we're proposing to be removed. One of them is STEM and sports, because when you looked at the description and the standards, it's the exact same as STEM 1. So historically, we would have classes that we'd get a really passionate teacher that wanted to propose a class, and we would approve that. And then what happens is if a teacher leaves or whatnot, and then there's not consistency with scope and sequence and curriculum and things like that. So we did work with the campus. There's only one campus that was offering it. And when we explained what STEM 1 was, they're like, oh, that's what we do. We can just do it through a sports lens. Absolutely. So we're going to do that. And then that helps us to better monitor the STEM numbers to then know how to support the growth into our high school programs. And then we added a few years ago, Introduction to French and German. At the junior high, they have not gained enrollment in over 3 years. And one of the things that we've done to really clean up the book over the last several years is if a class isn't showing enrollment in 3 years, historically, those courses just would stay for like decades. And so we've worked really hard that if they're not making and there's not enrollment and it's not directly attached to like a district goal, then we will clean that up. So the recommendation to remove those actually came from the campus. It helps to not make those sections as overwhelming and push the students into the classes that we know we have teachers, we know we are ready to go, and the curriculum and the scope and sequence have already been developed. All right, that concludes the recommendations for the junior high. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears into the high school. The high school new courses that were requested, I will share that 2 of the classes, our district does a lot with growing our advanced placement program, and it is our vision to have all of the offerings in the book because you can send teachers to get training. That's the credential. They don't have to have a degree or anything like that. So we don't want to ever limit not offering these classes to our students. So it's our belief that we want to have them in the book. And then that way if campuses choose to move forward. So at this time, we actually have every College Board AP class in our book available to our families. Not that all of them are always making, but we're pretty close to that. So this last year, College Board has been piloting and just finalized the approval of AP Business and Personal Finance, which we already have 3 campuses that have teachers going to training and have been working on the pilot of that and are really excited to add that to their campuses. And the other one is AP Cybersecurity. So we're excited to see those, and just to share, and I know I'm going to try to keep myself on task, but I get really passionate about this stuff. Those 2 AP classes are also a part of a career pathway that College Board is now shifting their belief system to be more career aligned as well. And they've brought in CTE directors to that conversation and are currently working on mapping those. So within a year's time, our hope is to actually be able to offer those for CTE credit, and they will become, hopefully, per everything I've heard and the conversations I've been included in with College Board, those will then become part of the completers for our CTE pathways. So we're really excited because we know that we have a large interest in those 2 classes, and it will be tenfold if they are then CTE credit as well. You'll also see several IB classes that are being recommended to continue to support the growth of the IB program at Gilbert High School. We are making the proposal to add a capstone class for weighted credit for 5 of our performing arts programs. So those will include our orchestra, choir, band, theater, and dance. These are classes that historically have not had a weighted class or a opportunity to gain weighted or honors credit. In the past, we know that these students do a lot, but when it comes to looking at the additional work, if that be a capstone or a project or different pieces that come from the criteria that we have deemed honors, it hasn't quite met that. With the addition of the Arizona diploma seals that are now very heavy in those additional pieces, the teachers across the district collectively made the proposal to add these classes, which will only be relevant for seniors that have been in those programs all through high school. They have to complete 3 years before they're eligible for it, and then in their senior year, they can choose to still do the regular 4th year and not do the extra assignments and activities and projects, or they can choose that option and then earn weighted credit. So I am excited for our performing arts. They're very excited about this opportunity, and it'll help grow those diploma seals as well. That's not the only reason, but it's just another added incentive that those students will graduate with an additional diploma seal. We are recommending adding a sports leadership class that will be for students who, a lot of our campuses have done clubs where they're pulling in athletes that are truly your leaders and kind of like your team captains and go on to pursue coaching as careers and or maybe refereeing and things like that. And so the sports leadership class will allow them, when you think of like student government and community service hours and things like that, it's combining it through the lens of an athlete. And so they can help out with our unified sports program. They can help out with volunteering in those sports fields. So a lot of our other leadership classes that are in our book, when you read them, they're very academically driven, which this will be as well, but it's through the lens of that student athlete. We're specifically looking to target athletes who have been like 3-sport athletes through their high school careers that want to continue on with that. The rest of the new classes that we're proposing is just to make sure that we have outlined the classes that we brought to the board earlier, specific to the ASU experience with Mesquite High School. So they're not new courses. It's just making sure that we are able to add a section that shows which classes students are able to get that ASU credit, because the students that are doing those opportunities, when they don't have the opportunity here specifically, we have to add an additional course code. And so this was our way of adding that section. You'll notice that this is in a separate section in that part of the book. And we recognize that it will be fluid. Some may come off, some may not, but we wanted to be transparent and just share that list that had come up in a previous presentation. And so honestly, that one was to be more responsive to some feedback we got from the board.
I did have a question about that, so
Absolutely.
I want to, when I looked at it, it just said that you're going to add 65 courses, but it didn't list the courses, so I was going to ask if those could be emailed to us or something so that we can see those courses.
And I saw that after I PDF'd. It's not 65 courses. That was a typo on there.
I thought that was a lot of classes.
Yeah, no, that would be like a whole book in itself. But if you look on the summary sheet for the high school new courses.
Was that link and then that tab, right, that you emailed to them last week?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's in there.
And it is lines 10 through 20, so it's 10 classes,
I'll
not
go back
65.
and look.
I think that was a page break right at the end. It did look like that, but I apologize for that.
Okay, I will go back and look at that tab then,
Yes.
because I tried to cover everything, but it was a lot to cover this time.
It is. And I don't mind the questions. I want everybody to be on the same page.
Okay.
The next section is high school course credit change, which is changing the type of credit. And there were only 2 for this. One is the creative writing, and the other is foundations of film. Simply, these are the only 2 classes left in the high school book that were a semester class, and then they could repeat for credit. Everything else in our book over the last decade has gone to year-long classes. So when you're scheduling, really it came down to why don't we just make them all year long? So all we're doing is changing this to say they are now year-long classes. Nothing else is changing. The next section.
Dr. Cox,
yes.
I want to, before we get too far away from this, I've got a question about the weighting of classes, the fine arts classes.
Okay.
So the question in my mind is, how is weighting fine arts classes going to impact or affect students that have a weighted GPA from more traditional classes that allowed a weighted GPA, like your math and your science? And I guess my concern is, are we going to have, and I want to say this as diplomatically as possible, but is it, will a student who has a weighted GPA and a class rank because they took honors science or honors math, is that class rank and status at jeopardy because there's a student who took an honors drama class or something like that?
And we've had a lot of conversations around this, so I'll just share kind of the conversation, and if I don't fully answer your question, just let me know. So I will share with you that historically, our performing arts teachers have actually felt the opposite of what you're describing. They feel like they have a lot of students that are in the top 3 to 5% of the graduating class that are in performing arts, and those students stay in the performing arts all 4 years. And sometimes they feel, and it's not just a feeling, there's evidence to back this, that our performing arts students feel like they have been penalized because they are wanting to be in their performing art and they don't get to compete in some of those other weighted classes. If it were up to our performing arts teachers, we would weight every single class that they offer across our district. However, that would not be fair. And so what we landed on is that if we did this for only seniors who have shown that commitment through all 4 of their years and are willing to do these additional pieces that are honors rigor level, that they do deserve that honors credit. Now, I will share with you that we do have weighted classes in all of our other departments on a high school campus. So we have honors in our world languages, we have honors, or weighted, I should say, but weighted credit in some of our CTE programs, in our fine arts. And so really our performing arts is the one area where we haven't seen weighted credit. So again, when we look at our population and statistically the students who are in there, and I'm not saying all, but on average, you do see a larger percent of students that are in that top percent, that this may give them a boost in their GPA, but not any more than a CTE student who's already able to take. And one of the things that I have personally seen running a high school is that we have some amazing performing arts students that when they get to like their junior and senior year, they have some really tough decisions to make. And unfortunately, some have had to make the hard choice to step away from it, or maybe do it outside of school, or take it as an additional class because they feel like they want to compete with the GPA, Val-Sal, scholarship opportunities, and they want more weighted classes. And so this conversation is not new. I think these conversations, they come up in course book every single year, and it's our job to kind of make sure that it isn't a game to support the Val-Sal. It's to make sure that we are truly saying that these classes are at an honors and weighted level class, and if they are, then those students deserve that credit. And so again, we've kind of looked through all of those pieces. The other part that I think is important is that this last seniors cohort, so 2025, if you recall, we actually changed our Val-Sal to flat GPA. So when you look at that, we were at a point where historically students got to choose which credits they could use. So even in these same situations, if they didn't want to choose those classes, they could choose their top weighted classes. Now going to a flat rate GPA, if we have one department that doesn't have any of those opportunities, you're going to naturally see kids go the other way, and we don't want that. We don't want our students to feel like they have to pick and choose and not be a part of our performing arts.
That makes sense.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to answer your question a little further, because I do have.
Oh, I thought she answered it. Really
She did
well,
answer
yeah.
it great, but I have 2 daughters who have music degrees, one from ASU, one from NAU. And I will tell you that those degrees are as hard as any engineering degree or science degree. There is a lot of work that those students have to put in, and it's not a 4-year degree, it's actually a 4.5-year degree, because they can't compact everything they need to do into 4 years. So music is a very hard, difficult area of study, and it does take a lot of work.
Yeah, can I just speak to that really quickly as well? I appreciate the long answer because I think there's so much there to discuss. Kind of all the topics you hit on, I think, are important to consider in situations like this. And I appreciate the question from President Thompson because I agree you don't want to, I don't want to say devalue or take away from AP Calculus and AP Physics. And but what I'll tell you is anecdotally, and I don't know if we have like the numbers to actually back this up, is that these students aren't taking their performing arts classes instead of AP Calculus. All these students are doing AP Calculus. All these students are doing AP Physics. And these are the students that are taking a hour to be able to do that extra class, that are doing summer school to be able to do that extra class. And so I don't think them doing orchestra is taking away from their academic. I think it's additive. And I do agree. I think that to take 4 years of a performing art and to have to consider, oh man, my GPA is above 4.0, this is actually going to lower my GPA by participating, I think puts students in a hard spot.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put students in that spot. And I think that our performing arts are amazing, and they put amazing work. But I agree that it shouldn't just be given that it's an honors class. So I appreciate kind of the measured approach to this, and I would actually, I think that this is a great starting point, but I think maybe even if they are adding more substance or whatever the requirement is, to push that down even to lower levels, to make some of those other honors classes, so students don't have to make that decision of hurting their GPA versus participating in performing arts. So I don't know what the balance is, and with the valedictorian, salutatorian discussion and all of that, but I think this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. And I will share, I know you referenced it possibly being anecdotal. I'm sitting here nodding away because I can tell you that the numbers absolutely support what you're saying, and it is quantified. I also think it's important, I know I talked about the course book committee, but Ms. Taylor has the last few years put together, with a few of us, we've run a performing arts meeting where we've invited a liaison from each campus to come and give us their input and feedback. And so this conversation started long before course book even, and we had some really robust conversations, and they're willing to put in the work. And everything you just said, that's what they want for our students. We have some incredible performing arts teachers here, and truly these students are going above and beyond. And so now our next step is to create some documents to make sure that consistency is across our district, and not we don't want inadvertently some of our campuses to increase the rigor and make it more robust, and then some to not do that. I don't think that that's what would happen, but that's where my team gets to create those next steps. So thank you. All right, moving on to the high school change in course description. There were a few that fall under CTE that are just being updated per CTE verbiage that we get each year from programs. And then in addition to that, our online curriculum, which is FlexPoint, each year they also give us their descriptions. And we use that curriculum, but then we modify it. And because that curriculum comes out of Florida, we then have to modify it to make sure all the Arizona state standards are there and make some adjustments to make sure it aligns to Gilbert. And so we have to revise a few of those, and those are the ones that you'll see that have an OA, and they're all in the global section. So that justifies the online class changes. And then the course description for our ROTC programs, Campo Verde High School is no longer running ROTC off of their campus. So Gilbert High has that program, and all students are able to go there if they're interested in ROTC. And I mentioned the English language learner prereq change. That is true at the high school level as well, so you'll see that in both books. And then for the course removal requests at the high school level, I'm just going to kind of go down a few of these. The first one is we have a regular government econ. Those are 2 semester classes, and a few years ago we had proposed putting them together and ultimately trying to have teachers work together. Because of the work that we've done with our master schedulers and with our grading and with our common unit assessments and curriculum maps, it's made this class a little bit more difficult to manage in the scheduling aspect of having it coded and set up this way. So the campuses, a few had tried it out, and then last year we had 2 campuses, and this year there's 1 campus, and they came to me. They're like, hey, because of the systems and supports we have in place now, it doesn't make sense to have it set up that way. And we asked if anyone plans to go that way, and they had said no, so we're looking to remove it. So it just will be the regular government and econ sections. Forensic science, we had this in our general part of the book, but also in our global. And we've worked really hard that if we have a class that's offered within our brick and mortar setting, that all of our teachers, even online, will use that course description and curriculum. if there's an online class that is only for online students, that's the only time we separate it out. And so this was one that we must have missed when we cleaned those up. And so our principal at the Global Academy had pointed that out. And so we're just removing it from the online section. But technically, the course is still in the general part of the book. Driver's education is no longer being offered in our district. We were down for several years where it was only at Desert Ridge High School, and they, just like the rest of our high schools, they now have recommendations to programs and opportunities that they share with them, but it's not something that they're offering on campus anymore. So we just wanted to remove it from the book since it's not an opportunity. And then you'll see the next three are honors classes that we're competing with an equivalent AP class. So this includes Honors Economics, French 4, and AP English 4. Those all were competing with AP Economics, AP French, and AP Literature. And we, from watching the growth we've had and monitoring the student data, our students are capable and proving to us that they are successfully scoring well on their AP exams. And so we don't need a similar class that's the same level that's not encouraging them to take the AP exam. And so with all the work that we've done with AP over the last several years, we're to a point where we felt this way a few years ago, but we wanted to make sure that our teachers didn't feel like we were pulling the rug out from underneath them. And also our students, sometimes when those opportunities were both at a campus, they might have felt more insecure to try the AP, and we've come a long way. And so at this point, those students, these three classes, each of them is only offered at one campus. And so it really was the campus is saying, hey, you know, we're finally to a point where we feel like we're ready to push our students into those AP classes. And I absolutely love to hear that. So those would be the recommendations for the course removals. And that concludes all of the summary of changes from the committee at this time for both our junior high and high school books.
That's it?
I know. I actually think that is the shortest list we've had.
All right. We made a motion and it was seconded for this item, right?
Yes, I made the motion, I
Okay,
believe.
thank you. Discussion.
I don't have any more questions. I just want to say thank you for all the work that you poured into this and everyone on the committee.
I made the motion for nutrition. I don't think we have a motion for this yet. Ask
That's
Gabby.
what I was wondering. Do you know, Gabby?
I'll still thank you without a motion, but I really do appreciate it. And it is super long, but it has an incredible amount of information. It's actually very efficient and very effective in conveying the information, and appreciate everyone who put the work into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, can you confirm, did we? Okay, let's do that. Is there a motion to approve the 2026? I thought we did this.
No, I did the nutrition services increase, and that was the last
Okay,
motion that we had.
I don't think there's any harm in doing it twice if we did, but is there a motion to approve the 2026, 2027 course description books for high schools and junior highs?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brainerd. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Okay, if you could just go through that again.
Not a chance.
I think we'll be good.
We don't have to have a motion before a presentation, just before a vote.
Okay, I echo what Dr. Robeson has said, the amount of work that goes into this. I don't know how y'all do it. Amazing, amazing work. Just, I mean, it seems like a juggling act that you'd need 50 hands to be able to keep everything up in the air. So thank you for doing this. What other discussion or questions do we have?
I don't have any more questions because I already took a great deal of Dr. Cox's time this afternoon in asking her all kinds of questions. But I think that every parent and every student should find things in this course book that will be interesting to them, helpful to them, and I think it's that they should look. They should dig into this course book. If their student is saying, oh, that's boring or whatever, they will find something interesting. And I personally wish I could come back and take some of these classes, but no homework. I don't want to do homework.
Thank you.
Anything?
I mean,
Yeah, same. It was great. It was really great. You guys did a really good job. So thank you very much for all your effort.
All right. If there's nothing else, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the 2026-2027 course description books for high schools and junior highs as presented tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and that passes. Thank you, Dr. Cox. Agenda item number 8, items for future agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like to add to a future agenda? Okay.
I just want to note this. I'm not sure the best timing to do this, but can we sometime in the spring get feedback on the ASU experience on that? Can we kind of put that on the calendar so we can?
Yep.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
You guys talked about that in that work study at that time that we looked at that approval, correct? You had kind of requested that back then. Yep. We got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
We're requesting it again. All right.
It's okay. We'll have Dr. Cox come back up too.
Oh, wait a minute. I want to request we don't request. Just kidding. Okay. Anything else that anybody wants to add to an agenda? Okay. As always, if there's anything that comes up, please reach out to me or Dr. McCord, and we'll make sure that we get it on there if it's appropriate. All right. Moving on to board reports. Town of Gilbert Liaison, Dr. Blake Robeson.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anything to report from the audit committee. We have a meeting this week. But I did attend a couple of events. One was a Veterans Day event that I thought was fantastic, and I applaud and praise all of those schools that take time out of their schedule to honor our veterans. I thought that was amazing. Yeah, and that's all I have for tonight. Thank you. Gilbert Education Foundation, Mr. Jesse Brainerd.
Nothing to report.
Thank you very much. City of Mesa Liaison, Ms. Shana Murray.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. And our Legislative Representative and Employee Benefit Trust, Ms. Jill Humphreys.
Couple things. Excuse me, the Employee Benefit Trust Committee meeting will be later this week, so next month I'll have something to report. And then I just wanted to share a couple things that I've been to. So I did miss, I was on the phone last month because I was with my daughter and her family while they had a new baby, and they're doing very well. I also wanted to share that last month in September, I received an award from ASBA for 600 hours of professional development. I received their Gold Star Award, which is their highest level. And I really appreciate that. That was, I feel those conferences have been a great blessing to me in my role as a board member. And then I wanted to share that I went to Augusta Ranch for Grandparents' Day. Really great turnout, lots of grandparents there. I got to sit with 2 little kindergartners. I got to eat one of our nutrition services lunches, and it was delicious. And these 2 little kindergartners were just so cute. I work out. I can lift 10 pounds. I can lift 20 pounds. I can lift 200 pounds. So we had the strongest kindergartners in the whole world. So it was adorable, and it was a wonderful event, and it was just fun to see the community coming together and how many grandparents came to be with their grandkids that day.
Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. I think there's a Seinfeld episode about that.
I don't know.
Mendelbaum. All right. Thank you for those reports. Meeting dates, Dr. McCord.
Thank you, Mr. President, governing board members. We have one more meeting for the 2025 year, and that's December 9th. It's a board business meeting. January 6, 2026, Governing Board Special Organizational Meeting and Brief Board Business Meeting. That's where you will elect presidents as well as clerks and do committee assignments. And then January 12th is a Board Policy Committee meeting at 4:30, and January 27th is a Board Business meeting.
Did I hear that right? So we have January 12th is the policy meeting, January 26th is the organizational meeting, and January 27th?
January 6th is the
January
6th.
6th, okay.
6th,
Thank
and
you.
then 27th is the Board Business
That's
meeting.
where I was confused. Okay, thank you very much. All right, and last but not least, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Humphries. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.